Welcome. I'd like to talk to you about what is here, what this is, not as a thing, not as a concept, but simply experiencing. We're used to thinking about things. Because of our programming and our conditioning, we're used to having names and labels, and that's just fine. I mean, that's just the way it is. But something more can be recognized and understood. Um, when when you're with, and when I say you, I don't mean you, this entity. I'm talking about you as consciousness, because that is actually what's here. Except consciousness is another label, so we just can't get away from it. But what is here is experiencing. It's this flow of experiencing. And instead of me telling you, I'd really like to invite you to notice as this flow of experiencing is flowing. You take a breath, pause. What's noticed? Sound, sensation, breath, light, colors, textures. Even if the eyes are closed, that doesn't disappear. There's simply this experiencing in these so-called different dimensions. So take a moment right now and experience this. Eyes can just can be open, they can just be soft and fuzzy so that there is nothing delineated. It's just kind of this wash of colors and textures. And there's simply this flow. I mean, we have a habit of labeling a sound a certain thing, but just let that go. This continual flow, always present, even when sleeping is happening. That's simply experiencing. It's all the flow of experience. Now, thought can appear just like sound is appearing. Feelings can appear. A seeming entity can appear. Somebody can like walk by. And yet, when this is simply being explored without the concepts, it just has a different flavor. What can be discovered is that the concepts are overlaid. They're overlays on direct experiencing. And, we learned that. We learned subject and object. We learned this character me and that character you, so I mean, it's just deeply ingrained. But what was before the conditioning is still here. Nothing has changed or gone away. There's just this, you know, conditioning overlaid. And so what is happening is just this exploration of what is actually here. The experience of awakening in the morning, just, you know, I don't know about you, but I don't just immediately pop up and I'm wide awake. And, it's a gradual, how would you say, coming to consciousness. It's just kind of how I try to word it. And there can be those moments that, a sound might register before there's even a knowing what that sound is, because the mind hasn't, like come on board yet, if you so to speak. And though those moments, I've experienced them as non-conceptual experiencing. And it's after the fact that I realized, oh, that sound that woke me up was, a toilet flushing or a car starting or whatever. But in reflecting back at that moment, there was no concept of what anything was, or even that a me was experiencing anything. It was simply direct experiencing. And that is all the time. That's not a special state. That's all the time. And that can become more and more familiar with as, as there's playing with experience. When you are thinking about getting out of bed, you can actually pause for a moment and notice when the leg is being thrown over the bed. Is there really anybody doing that? Is there a doer? I've noticed again and again when I played with that experience, uh, you know, thought wants to take credit for that action after the fact, but it can never be pinned down when or who or what makes that decision. It can't be found. So these overlays are simply thought, and this thought is coming and going all the time. And it's this thought that overlays, pretty much every experience. If I'm, going to meet someone, and then thought can say, oh, you know, how will that go? What if I say something foolish? I mean, I don't worry about that stuff anymore. But, I certainly did back in the day when I took this experiencing as some solid entity that I referred to as a me. That just very gradually faded over time. I had the good fortune of studying with a number of teachers and finally finding someone who, I don't know, just, was able to slowly and gradually kind of put the cherry on the top. But for me, it was years and going to different seminars and satsangs and retreats, so that I was able to really see how I was holding reality to be. There had been a lot of tension in this nervous system that, had to be moved through. You know, everybody's different. I can only speak from my own direct experience, and you can look into yours and see, you know, what is what might be needed here. I mean, I got involved with different kinds of body work and psychotherapy, and you know, it for me it was all about kind of seemingly removing or moving through is a better word, moving through these layers of protection that this character believed they needed to be able to survive. There was a lot of self-doubt. There was a lot of self-loathing. There was just holding all of this ideas about things in such a tight, tight grip. And it was really through the investigating of reality as it is with these guides that I ended up finding that, finally, not finally, but gradually, um, I can't even say what or how it happened, but it was gradually seen the ways in which I was holding things to be. And, there was no doing anything about it. It wasn't like, oh, I just made up my mind that, oh, that's just not true. And I mean, wouldn't that be nice? It was and it was just, it was just this gradual seeing and gradual investigating and gradual playing with experience that just kind of reoriented from this character to just presence itself. And it's really impossible to put these things into words, So, I share all of this in opening to the mystery, unfolding from a limited self, because I had written all of this in my journal. And but now as I'm trying to talk about it, I just find it really impossible. But I like sharing these investigations here because that to me is kind of really the door in, is being with direct experience, noticing thoughts, noticing the content of thought, and how that content is an overlay on direct experience. Because what is here before the content even gets started is simply sound, sensation, light, colors, textures, shapes, vibes. No matter what's going on, you can be in a crowd of people and say, gee, I wish I felt more comfortable. I wish I could go and talk to people. I wish I wasn't so anxious. I mean, all of that is overlay. All of that is story. Now, I'm not trying to say it's wrong or that it shouldn't be there, but it can be noticed as appearance. You know, everything is an appearance. The tree over there, the flowers over there, the thought that just goes by, someone else if they happen to walk past, a cough that I just heard. It's all appearance. It all comes and goes. And notice how certain appearances are taken very seriously and very concretely, like like they're an actual entity. They're not. They're just appearances. The mind makes these concrete. So my invitation, and this is really what I want to talk about over and over, because like I said, it took me years to finally see through the overlays and for them to gradually fade. I didn't do anything because there's no, actual person doing it. There's what is here as an appearance, as this presence, awareness, even those are too many words. But there's something alchemical about noticing. And if you can notice increasingly without judging or trying to make something stop, um, that's really, that's really, that's really the ticket as far as I can tell you. So, I'd love to speak with you. I'd love to engage with questions and observations and noticing. So I'll leave it here for now. And I wish you happy noticing.